Good Sunday morning, everybody, and welcome to the QB List pregame kickoff live stream. I'm your host, Aaron Rader. You can find me on Twitter, RAY_DUR. And with me, as always, is my co-host and jilted Cowboys fan, Matt Dean. Matt, how you feeling about Nick starting tonight?
Not great, Bob. We win, we get first in the division. So big games, like playoff atmosphere with a bunch of JV players. Dude, I'd take Alshon Jeffrey at quarterback.
He can't be much worse than Andy Dalton's been playing, which has baffled me because Andy Dalton really wasn't that bad in Cincinnati, I don't feel like, but I don't know what's going on there in Dallas. Hopefully, maybe they'll trade for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, if that happened, that'd be fantastic. I think he would fit in great. I don't know how he would do behind that offensive line either, but can't be much worse. So I don't know what we would have to trade for him, honestly, after the start that Fitzmagic had. But, I mean, if we had to trade, I don't know, what do you think, like a fifth-round pick or something? Probably worth it.
I don't know. The way Fitzpatrick is playing, somebody might pony up more.
Who knows? If that happened, though, he'd be a pretty good fantasy asset, I think. But we'll see.
Well, luckily, I don't have to wonder how the Falcons are going to blow a lead today, and they got to win Thursday night. So it's just strictly fantasy for me today. So let's go ahead and get into the injury news. Lots of big names. Actually, just to hit a COVID report real quick. According to Adam Schefter, there were no new reports amongst players. The only people that are struggling with COVID, to my knowledge, for today's games are the Broncos assistant coaches. So that's really the only COVID news we got for this week. But lots of injury news to talk about. One of the main people, again, is Michael Thomas, as it has been all season. They're struggling today because they don't have him, Emmanuel Sanders. Marquez Callaway's also hurt.
Yeah. Which is sad because I wrote up that game this week, and I was really hopeful that Callaway would play. He looked really good being a Tennessee alumni myself. It was nice to see the Saints take advantage of another underutilized player from the Volunteers.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be strictly Traquan Smith and Alvin Kamara getting all they can handle. I don't love Traquan Smith against the Bears. Really, we talked about, it's probably just going to be all Kamara again with these injuries. I think
it's going to be some hard to throw in that game too, right? Isn't there some weather predicted too? So
yeah, it's going to be some bad weather, and we're going to actually talk about all that too after we get through these injuries. There's quite a few games today with pretty bad weather and high winds predicted. So definitely keep an eye on that, and we're going to hit all that too after we get through these injuries. Aaron Jones is out again, much to my chagrin because I've got him in multiple leagues. I think they're just wanting to take it easy and hope he, doesn't re-injure himself. Joe Mixon's also kind of in the same boat. He's out today. So how do you feel about Giovanni Bernard or Jamal Williams?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm playing against Jamal Williams. I was also playing against Michael Thomas before he went out. So I think Jamal Williams, it's predicted to be some weather there too, which could make it difficult for Rodgers to throw it down the field to Devontae Adams. So I expect a lot of slants from Devontae Adams, a lot of screens, and a lot of Jamal Williams, unfortunately. But good for owners that have him, good for DFS. And I think Giovanni Bernard, we saw last week that when he takes over, it's almost like when he takes over, it seems like he scores more points than when Joe Mixon is like a healthy Joe Mixon. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe Giovanni Bernard is someone who teams need to be going after, hidden gem at running back that is the best kept secret in Cincinnati because all he does is perform when he gets in there. So they're both low end RB1s, high end RB2s to me, depending on the league.
Yeah, and I think Giovanni, it's a factor of, any back in the Bengals if they're going to have all the work to themselves. With Joe Burrow slinging it so much, I think Gio is benefiting from that without Joe Mixon there. Because even when Joe Mixon was healthy, they were putting in Bernard on some passing situations. So now he's got all the work he can handle. Maybe it's part of that. But, yeah, Joe Mixon really only had one great game this year, it seems like. So, other news, we got Julian Edelman's out for a while with a knee procedure, and Kilharry is out. So it looks like Demir Bird and let's see, who else do they got? Jacoby Myers. That's going to be basically all Cam Newton has to throw to.
Yeah, and, James White, and I think they said Sony Michelle is off the COVID list, but he's still on the injured reserve. Maybe he just doesn't want to come back and play for that team. I wouldn't. But it's not looking good for the beginning of the year. It looked great for people that had Cam Newton. It looked like the steal of the draft kind of at quarterback, aside from maybe Kyler Murray or something. But now he's looking like, he had negative 0.9 last week or something.
Yeah, it's been a real struggle through the air for the Patriots.
Yeah, I started him last week. I lost by 8 points, I think, and I had him in a league, and it was not fun.
And it's crazy because he looked, this is more what we envisioned him looking like, but those first few games, he looked like Cam Newton of old, and actually his accuracy looked, probably better than I'd ever seen it. So I don't know what's happened ever since he, came back from COVID. He just hasn't looked the same. I'm sure that's not all to do with it, obviously, but I don't know. Rough sledding for the Patriots, and doesn't get much better against the Bills today in what could be pretty bad weather too. So,
yeah.
Another team that's without a lot of weapons, the Jets. Jamison Crowder and Brashad Perriman are out playing Kansas City, so that's going to be rough. Denzel Mims is about the only guy they have. Maybe Chris Herndon gets involved. Maybe P. Ryan gets involved in the passing game, but somebody's going to have to do it for the Jets today because they're going to have to put up a lot of points to keep up with this team. We got possible, Le'Veon Bell revenge game coming against the Jets, so we'll get to see him in action. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and they get an early game, so I think that's probably the most exciting storyline, I think, on the slate to start the day, especially with Antonio Brown not debuting until next week. That's funny, 2 former Steelers. But, yeah, I think with the kind of coach that Andy Reid is, I have to think that he's going to get, his chance to really stick it to Adam Gase. So that's what I'm hoping for anyways, because I'm starting him.
And the Chiefs are going to be without Sammy Watkins, but, he's always a gamble anyway when you play him most of the time, and they have plenty of weapons left. They're probably not going to have to do too much. They're really going to probably keep the ball on the ground for the second half if it goes the way I'm expecting it to go. So the Niners are also without Deebo Samuel and Jeff Wilson, so that there's kind of a committee being formed in that backfield. I don't really know who's Tevin Coleman just came back off IR. JaMychal Hasty was pretty involved last week after Jeff Wilson went down, and Jerick McKinnon has just been, non-existent the last few weeks after having double-digit performances for the first 3 or 4 weeks. So I don't really know what's going on there in the Niners backfield, and I know, they're saying Jerick McKinnon has tired legs or whatever, but Shanahan's been resting him. He only had 3 touches last week, so I don't really know. What else to make of who's going to get the work there, who's the person to play. I kind of just want to avoid all of them.
Yeah, but don't you have McKinnon going in a league?
Well, I was going to start – I have him in one league, but I was going to start him in our main league, but now I'm just kind of leaning T.Y. Hilton with the Lions having 2 corners banged up.
Yeah, well, I think, McKinnon – they said they gave him a scheduled rest week last week. Who knows – if that continues, because the report came out that he was dealing with tired legs, which I've never really heard from a top end athlete. I don't know, but I know I have tired legs, but I'm 28 and a little overweight here.
Well,
so
he shouldn't have tired legs. He's been, injured for the last 3 seasons, I think. So, I mean, he should be pretty fresh. I don't know how he could be struggling, but whatever.
Yeah.
We don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but
yeah, we'll see. And then as far as, it was so weird last week was Jeff Wilson was not on anyone's radar, and then he popped off like 30 points in 3 quarters. So it's like, is it going to be Tevin Coleman? Is it going to be Hasty? Is it going to be none of them? Is it going to be, you never know. Is it going to be, we've seen Kittle score like 40 in a week where running backs aren't involved. So I don't know. I'm staying away, I believe. They always, on Yahoo especially where we play, they always project McKinnon to have like, RB1 numbers, and it's tempting, but don't give in to the temptation.
Really the only guy that I like this week in that offense is Brandon Ayuk. Without Deebo Samuel, him and Kittle are really the only threats in the receiving game. So maybe Jimmy G tears it up, but that Seattle secondary has been one of the worst in the league against passes. So if I'm starting anybody out of that game, it's going to be him.
Yeah.
Just in the last hour, I believe Mark Ingram was rolled out per Adam Schefter. So it's looking like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are going to do all they can. I'm really disappointed in J.K. Dobbins. I don't really understand how he hasn't had more production than he's had this year. I know all of y'all were hopping him up at the draft while I was still on the Mark Ingram train and whatnot. But I think everyone just expected J.K. Dobbins to take it away from Mark Ingram and run with it, or, at least to have a 50-50 split and him be, an every week flex or something.
Yeah, that backfield has been, super confusing, and I don't know if it's going to get any clarity this week with Gus Edwards and Dobbins now going to split work with Lamar Jackson. I think it's going to be a Lamar Jackson week just coming out of the bye. Everybody's basically just, talking about how he's dropped out of, the top 2, 3 QBs, now top 5. So I think he's going to come out and just light it up today. Could be wrong, but if that's the case, then, I think he's the leading rusher for that team today. So I don't know. If you're in a pinch, maybe I'll start J.K. Dobbins, but he's also been very inefficient when he's ran. So,
and then of course we got, unfortunately for you, Miles Sanders out once again. Also, Alshon Jeffrey's out once again. I don't know when he's ever going to come back, but they're getting Jalen Reagor back. They're getting Dallas Goedert back. Still don't have Sanders or Jeffrey, and also, Deshaun Jackson's on injured reserve. So, but they shouldn't have any problem against that Dallas defense tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. People that stashed him for the last, I think he's been out 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks. Last year he put up some crazy like 10 for 150 and 2 touchdown stat line against the Cowboys. So while I'm wearing my, Cowboys shirt here, I'm not too optimistic about our chances of stopping him. We're going to probably have a linebacker on him. That's either going to be Jalen Smith or Van Der Esch, assuming he doesn't stub his toe on the way to the field today. So, yeah, Dallas Goedert's going to have a big game.
Yeah, and
Zach Ertz, do you think I know you own a share of Zach Ertz, but are you just hoping he gets traded at the deadline, or what happened there?
Yeah, I don't really know why he wasn't more involved with all the injuries they've had. But he's not even going to be back till after week 9. I don't think so. And he may take even longer than that, but I wouldn't be opposed to a trade. The way he's played for them this year, it doesn't really seem like he's a part of their offense anymore. I don't completely understand it. I don't really have a reasoning, but, I'm just kind of holding on to him because tight end's kind of a wasteland. I picked up Logan Thomas just because he's been better than Ertz. And this week I'm having to start – I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name, but Denver's tight end, and that's only because him and Drew Lock has some chemistry, because it was either that or, take my chances on Richard Rodgers still being involved, or Dalton Schultz getting some DiNucci targets. But so really just, if you don't have a top tight end, you're really just grasping at straws in most leagues.
Yeah. Albert. I don't even know if I want to even take a chance of pronouncing that name. Oakwig Boonham.
Yeah, I think that's how you say it, actually.
Wow.
Boonham.
You should get fantasy points just for starting that guy. 1 point per letter. You take that.
Well, Noah Fant's banged up still, and they're missing Tim Patrick, so they're starting 3 rookie wide receivers. So maybe he'll get some action. But we've got 3 other guys who are questionable. Chris Carson's a 50-50 shot. Supposedly he's going to warm up during pregame and see how he's feeling. If not, it's going to be Travis Homer and DJ Dallas because Carlos Hyde had some hamstring tightness and stuff this week. So Chris Carson's looking like a long shot to play, but they're calling him 50-50. Then Phillip Lindsay and Dalvin Cook, kind of the same situation. But I think Lindsay's pretty much said he's going to play. Dalvin Cook's kind of warming up pregame as well, but he's looking like he's going to get in. So
yeah, he's actually active for a full workload today against Green Bay. So he should probably pop off today.
So if we get any more injury news during this, we'll try to get it over to y'all if anything comes across. But we're going to kind of talk about the weather in some of these games, starting with the Vikings-Packers game.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be 35 degrees at kickoff, wind 23 miles per hour, up to 35 mile per hour gusts. So passing games for both teams and the kicking game could be affected for sure. So maybe, fade some of these receiving options. You can't really fade, Thielen or Devontae Adams. I mean, nobody's going to do that. And even Justin Jefferson, I'm having to start him in 2 weeks. So, but just temper your expectations when it comes to those guys.
Yeah. And, with that weather, it could be a problem. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to still air it out. I mean, even if there is wind, Devontae Adams can go get balls in space. And so I'm sure he'll still have a big game. I don't know if he'll have as big a game last week where he absolutely destroyed me in my matchup in our main league. I think it was 10 for 193 and 2 touchdowns or something like that. So, but you'd be happy with half that. What would that be? 5 for 98 and 1 touchdown. So I think that's a performance you can expect.
Yeah, and I mean with this kind of weather, I would expect both coordinators to keep the passing game kind of shorter routes and whatnot. Probably not a lot of deep shots, just so they don't get away from them. But Titans Bengals games kind of a different. It's a lot warmer there. But there's going to be a chance of rain, 17 mile per hour winds, and they can get up to 30 mile per hour gusts. So that could be an issue for those passing games and kickers as well. We've seen Gotskowski struggle a little bit anyway, so this could be even worse for him. But expect a lot of Derrick Henry. This probably is worse for the Bengals, I would think, because they've been relying a lot more on the passing game than the Titans. So.
Yeah, I think this eliminates, more of the downfield stuff where it's been mostly T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd downfield. I think you actually see a lot more A.J. Green from the slot in this one. But I think ultimately they're probably going to be forced to throw a lot. So, I mean, right now, Joe Burrow's supporting 3 receivers in Boyd, Higgins, and A.J. Green. So, I mean, we'll see if that continues. I hope it does. It's fun to watch. And even though Joe Burrow is absolutely getting destroyed every week, getting sacked behind that offensive line, getting hit, seems like every time he drops back. But, yeah, it should be a good one.
And Patriots-Bills supposed to be 37 degrees, possible rain. And 17 mile per hour winds up to 37 mile per hour gusts. I already didn't feel good about Josh Allen. Now I really don't feel great about Josh Allen. Hopefully his running for him and Cam Newton owners, hopefully their rushing ability kind of, buoys their fantasy value this week because I'm kind of worried about both of them passing, especially with Cam's limited amount of weapons.
Yeah. I'm basically all out on Cam right now, so I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't start Ben DiNucci over him, but I would start a lot of people over him.
Start him. And then we've got Raiders Browns is 46 degrees. Chance of rain as well. 26 mile per hour winds with 37 mile per hour gusts. Browns already have injury, with Odell out. They're going to have Jarvis Landry and Rashard Higgins. Apparently, Rashard Higgins and him have great chemistry.
What a weird comment.
Supposedly Higgins, it has never been closer with Baker Mayfield, but they, the Raiders would prefer to keep it on the ground anyway. They don't. Henry Ruggs has had some flashes, but I don't expect. I think both teams, really would prefer to keep it on the ground. Honestly, seem to do better when they're able to run the ball effectively.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs has been kind of a disappointment. First week, he looked like a stud. I think he had 2 touchdowns, like 20-something points in PPR. But since then, it's been kind of like a flex play. And so we'll see what his involvement is going forward. But, yeah, I think with their emergence of Nelson Aguilar, Henry Ruggs coming back, Darren Waller, Jacobs has kind of just been the, move the sticks kind of guy, and we're going to throw it over the top to these other guys. Where do you have him right now? If you had to rank him, is he an RB1 for you still, or are you dropping him down?
Josh Jacobs?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing more like a running back 2 right now, and I've looked at his matchups the other day, and I think he's got a tough sled. Let me look at this. I actually traded him away for Mike Evans in our other league. He's got Cleveland, then Chargers, then Denver. So Denver's pretty rough. I don't know. He's got his schedule kind of lightens up the rest of the year. I don't know. He could still be a running back 1, but lately he's been producing like a running back 2. He did have that 22-point game against Kansas City, but I don't know. Not what people expected. Some people drafted him with a first-round pick or top of the second. So a lot of running backs kind of displeasing their owners where they drafted them.
Agreed. Almost all of the first-round running backs besides Alvin Kamara have basically been letdowns. You have Saquon going down, McCaffrey going down, Eckler going down, Miles Sanders going down. Jacobs has been kind of a disappointment. So it's been a rough year for top of the first running backs, which plays into what we were saying preseason is going running back heavy this year is going to be key. We didn't think it was because of, half the league would get injured. We just thought it was because there wasn't a lot of high upside guys from the running back position. So,
yeah, and Zeke right now, I'm very concerned with Zeke because this quarterback situation has absolutely kind of destroyed, the projection he was getting with Dak. He was guaranteed almost a touchdown a week the way he was playing. So it's been really rough for him. I'm hoping he can bounce back. Maybe DiNucci will put some light of fire in that offense, but the last game we've got with weather is Saints-Bears, 35 degrees, 18 mile per hour winds, and 30 mile per hour gusts. So Saints are already limited. Their passing game, they kind of keep it short anyway. So just expect more of the same from them. Passes to Kamara. It's pretty much going to be the Kamara show, I think. And the Bears, Allen Robinson's already, he cleared concussion protocol last minute. I don't know if he's going to be limited at all, but, they've struggled to move the ball through the air as well. So I think both running games are going to try to get going.
Yeah, and we could see a little bit more Latavius Murray this game. It seems like that always ends up being 12 carries for 45 yards. So, I mean, it's not someone you're really looking to start. But, yeah, Kamara is just locked in. He's basically 25 points a week at this point. And so he's kind of like the CMC of last year, maybe with a few less touchdowns. But, I mean, he's getting like 8 targets a game. So got to be excited about that if you have him. And you're not sitting him. So I don't know if I would start any wide receivers there. Traquan Smith is probably the most exciting one, but we saw last week how that turned out. So,
yeah, I mean, if you want to start him in DFS or whatnot, or you don't have anybody else, maybe a deep flex, but I don't trust any of the Saints wide receivers with all these injuries. But
yeah, I agree.
That about wraps it up for the weather report here. Just keep monitoring that because it could have a lot of fantasy implications for sure.
So we had a question from our Discord channel here, and get your take on it. Somebody asked Joe Burrow or Josh Allen this week.
I'm definitely going Burrow.
Yeah, they both have some weather issues, don't they?
Yeah, but I still would rather. I just against that secondary, I don't like Josh Allen this week, but I have no choice in our main league. It's either him or Phillip Rivers. I'm not going Rivers. So.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's interesting because I'd say if Joe Mixon was starting, I would probably lean Josh Allen. But since Joe Bernard is not the most effective rusher, I would say, I think he's going to be dropping back for a lot of this game. Especially if they get behind early. So I'm with you on that.
But we'll go ahead and move on to DFS plays. First one I like, or maybe this was you. I don't think I put this one on here, but Jimmy Graham at Seattle, $5,400 on DraftKings.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I mean, I'm trying to compare him to my other big tight end play here, Dallas Goedert, and their prices. But, yeah, I think he's been solid. He's been consistent. And Allen Robinson got cleared, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think I would lean my top DFS play for tight end would probably be Goddard just because he's super cheap. But you can't fault. I mean, if someone wants to go that route, then I wouldn't fault you for it.
Yeah, and I've actually got a tight end as well on here, and he's 4,100. I mean, he's a starting tight end that's costing you that of the backup tight ends that I was looking at. And Jonnu Smith against Cincinnati this week, he's $4,100. So $1,300 less than Jimmy Graham. Actually, that's Jimmy Garoppolo. My bad. I saw Jimmy G and I was thinking Jimmy Graham, but.
After I started looking through it, I was like, I think he might be talking about Garoppolo, and I just totally messed that up.
You would think Jimmy G, I would automatically think of Garoppolo, but yeah, as far as tight ends, Jonnu Smith's 4,100 against Cincinnati. I like him, but for quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo this week against Seattle for $5,400. I mean, he's been up and down. He's not been great, but against that secondary for that cheap, I mean. Might as well take it. I know a lot of people are going to spend up for Patrick Mahomes against the Jets or, someone like that. But he's pretty much almost half the cost as those sort of guys, and then you can spend elsewhere. So,
agree. I think that's a great play. Almost assuredly going to be playing in an up-tempo game because of who's quarterbacking on the other side and the fact that Chris Carson may not be playing. I mean, are they really going to trust Homer and DJ Dallas to run the ball? No. So it'll be a full-on pass game there.
Yeah, and as far as running back goes, Kareem Hunt is 6,900. Like we said, a lot of bad weather coming there. Injury to Odell. So Kareem Hunt for 6,900 could be quite a steal this week, as well as Jamal Williams for 6,100. So like Matt said earlier, Jamal Williams is probably going to get all he can handle. I'm sure A.J. Dillon will be involved, but, PPR format, like DraftKings is against Minnesota, you really can't do much better than Jamal Williams for $6,100. And then I got Devontae Adams on here, but with the weather and stuff, and he's probably one of the most expensive wide receivers as well.
Yeah, he's actually the top receiver.
Yeah, so I don't really know that I love him as much as some others this week, but he could have a big game against Minnesota. Their secondary is pretty rough. You got any receivers or running backs that you like?
Yeah, well, Le'Veon Bell's only 4,600, and if you believe in narratives, I mean, this is the one that you want to buy into because basically Le'Veon Bell has come out publicly this year. That's how it led to his trade, I think, or getting cut, I should say. I mean, he publicly came out and said basically Adam Gase is a terrible coach and has been holding him back and all this. So if you believe in the revenge game narrative, this is the revenge game of all revenge games. And, Le'Veon Bell actually saw, I think, one less carry than CEH last week, and they only ran the ball like 12 times last game between the two of them, or maybe 11. So, I mean, it's shaping up to be a Le'Veon Bell game just because of the coach that Andy Reid is. I think he is a player's coach. He wants to, the players are comfortable that they're bought in. And so what better way to get Le'Veon Bell going with his new team than against the Jets? And, I mean, 4,600, that's almost – I mean, that's pretty bottom of the barrel there. I mean, comparing him to other guys at that price, I mean, you're looking at guys like Gus Edwards, Zach Moss, J.K. Dobbins. So, I mean, looking for value, that's pretty valuable there.
Adam Schefter just tweeted a little injury news here. Said before Chris Godwin had surgery on his fractured left index finger Tuesday, doctors told the Bucs he would be sidelined 4 to 6 weeks. Now he's supposedly he's week to week. So bad news for Chris Godwin owners. Looks like he could be out until the fantasy playoffs, perhaps. So maybe Antonio Brown, maybe he gets up and going faster than we thought. Mike Evans.
Maybe faster than you thought. I've been bought in since the tweet came out. But, yeah, right here Schefter saying he has 50-50 chance to actually play next week for Chris Godwin. But, I mean, I would say with Antonio Brown coming back, they're not going to rush Godwin back with how many injuries he's had. And so I would say, yeah, Godwin is off the radar for the next week or two, I would say. And they have a bye week team. If they're winning games, I mean, they may just hold them out for longer just for, if they're getting close to, locking up the 1 seed or whatever it may be, like, why rush a guy back when you don't really need to? So,
yeah, and I mean, it's not. I mean, they're in pretty good place in the division right now. So they played the Saints once. They haven't played us at all yet. Maybe we can steal a game or two. I can't remember if they played the Panthers, but yeah, I mean, there's really no reason to rush him. They're going to want him for the playoffs. But, maybe Antonio Brown does get more involved, obviously. But I'm still leaning towards more of Mike Evans and maybe Ronald Jones in the passing game. Gronk's been coming on, so we'll see how it all shakes out. But, yeah, bad news for Godwin owners. And, I mean, that's a really high draft pick to have spent. And that just adds to the list of first and second round draft picks that have been getting injured lately. But another DFS receiver I like, obviously we talked about him earlier, Brandon Ayuk. Him and Jimmy G might be a nice stack against the secondary. Seattle, at one point, I haven't looked this week, but I know they were like the worst in terms of yardage, passing yards allowed in the league.
They give up the most fantasy points to wide receivers as well.
Yeah, so definitely a good play there. Hunter Renfro's another decent one just because he's $3,800. I mean, and him and Ruggs is basically the top wide receivers. Hunter Renfro's not going to, absolutely, blow the doors off or anything, but for 3,800, you could do a lot worse.
Agreed. And it also depends on the weather there. I think if he's running more of the underneath routes, we could see him produce today. Aguilar's been the guy. Ruggs, I think this kind of takes him out of the game plan a little bit here with the weather. So Renfro, could be good underneath. Funny talk about Renfro, going to college for a minute. What a game Clemson and who they played, Boston College yesterday. That was a wild one. So it seemed like Hunter Renfro was there for like 17 years playing for them. But
yeah, Clemson managed to squeak one out, but apparently they got Notre Dame next week, and I think they said Trevor Lawrence is going to be sidelined yet again. So going to be pretty wild. Maybe there's an upset there. Lastly, last DFS guy besides this defense I want to talk about, Giovanni Bernard's 5,800. Starting running back for 5,800. Can't really go wrong there.
Yep.
We talked about how good he is, when Mixon's been out. So
would you rather have him or Jamal Williams? I feel like those are kind of looped in together. Well, I'll give you three: Jamal Williams, Boston Scott, or Giovanni Bernard.
Boston Scott's another great one. I don't even know his price. I should have put him on here, but
yeah, he's right between. So Jamal Williams 6,100 on DraftKings, Boston Scott 6,000, Giovanni Bernard 5,800. So
just based on the price, probably Gio, but if I had to pick one, not taking price into consideration, probably Jamal. Even though I do really like Boston Scott as well tonight, but this is just the offense. Jamal Williams in that offense against Minnesota, you can't really. That's just it doesn't get much better for a fill-in guy. Lastly, you got for the defense, I got Bills versus the Pats. They're just a lot cheaper at 3,300. They're a lot cheaper than some of those top-end defenses like Kansas City against the Jets. And, New England obviously doesn't really scare anybody with their limited amount of weapons, the way Cam's been playing, and the possible bad weather. So just really a good chance, I think, for the Bills to capitalize. We got one question coming in from Vinster76. He says, Boston Scott or Justin Jefferson at the flex?
I think I got to go Boston Scott here. Dalvin Cook's back, which takes away more of the need to throw there downfield. Justin Jefferson's been fantastic, but Boston Scott gets a cupcake matchup this week. So,
yeah, I'm going Boston Scott there as well, as much as I need Justin Jefferson to produce.
Right.
Well, that pretty much, unless you got some other DFS plays that you want to throw in here.
Well, I just think it might be worth it this week for people to pay up for Tampa Bay or the Kansas City defense. Most weeks I'm trying to save at defense. Most weeks I also lose in DraftKings. But, I think this might be a week where you do pay up, especially, Bucks defense, primetime against the Giants. The Giants, I don't know that we've even heard yet about they had kind of the same situation as the Raiders, right? Their offensive line was exposed to COVID or something like that. Maybe they're all cleared now, but regardless, Devin White and Levante David in the middle of that defense have been wreaking havoc on people. So we saw them last week, hold Las Vegas to 20 points, had a pick, a few sacks. 2 weeks ago, 2 picks, 5 sacks, defensive touchdown. So, the Giants have been really generous. I don't know who I like better. Maybe the Chiefs, but they're 200 more. So, not really a value play there. And then if you were paying up for a couple guys, let's talk about that San Francisco-Seattle. We saw last week Lockett had like a top 5 game of all time in fantasy from a wide receiver. DK was basically non-existent last week, understandably, because he was shadowed and Lockett was going off. But which top-end receiver would you want to pay for? Because basically Adams, Metcalf, and Lockett are like the top 3 guys from a price standpoint. Any of those guys you would pay up for, or are you looking elsewhere when it comes to the wide receiver position?
Well, I looked at Lockett and Metcalf as well, and I think with Metcalf being 7,500 and Lockett being 71, I'd go Lockett. But you never know; those guys alternate all the time. Who's the better performer? But if I was going for the price, I think I'd go Lockett. But I just think Devontae Adams is too much. As dominant as he's been, he's 1,700 more than someone like Lockett. So,
yeah.
Ben Brown's got a question for us. DJ Dallas or Kendrick Bourne in full PPR today? Would you start Gus Edwards or Donovan Peoples-Jones over either of them?
I think we have to. It's tough for DJ Dallas just because, one, he can't block, so I don't know if they'll even trust him in the passing game. And we don't know if Chris Carson's going to play, and they don't play till 4:30. So it's going to be tough just because it's for me to suggest him, just because he may literally have 0 points.
I think if Carson's out, you go DJ Dallas. If he's not, you go Kendrick Bourne, because Gus Edwards is playing the Steelers, right? And Donovan Peoples-Jones, with that weather and stuff there, and then not seeing him, how he's involved, I just can't trust anybody, and Kendrick Bourne's got the matchup going for him and doesn't have the bad weather, so I think that's how I would do it.
Yeah, I think if Carson's out, I go DJ Dallas. If not, I may be taking a chance on Peoples-Jones, but there's weather issues there as well. I don't really necessarily trust Kendrick Bourne. They are playing against the Seahawks. So what'd you say your rankings were in order there?
I said, I don't trust Kendrick Bourne either, but with the matchup and the weather benefiting him the most, I go, if Carson's out, Dallas first, and then if he's playing or active at all, Kendrick Bourne, then Edwards, then Peoples-Jones, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I can get on board with that. I think the top plays. I don't expect Carson to play. He's proved us wrong before, though. That dude's tough. So DJ Dallas. The good thing is, San Francisco, Seattle, they're playing each other. So I would probably decide between DJ Dallas and Kendrick Bourne just at the 4:30 kickoff.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's about it for the DFS. We can hit some buy or sell, or we can hit some boom or bust. Which one? Which one would you rather?
Yeah, well, I think trade deadlines are coming up pretty soon, and I think some people are setting up either to try and make playoffs and try and trying to solidify teams for a playoff run. So I got a few names I can throw at you for buy or sell. And I think it is dependent on, where you are in your league. So I think buy or sell, while good, I think it depends on your situation. So we'll take that into account, though, with our answers here. You want to hit that question real quick?
Yeah, we got one question from Bars in the Tuck. Not exactly sure what that means, but good morning. Pick 2, Gaskin, Monty. I'm guessing he means Montgomery, right? DJ Dallas, Fournette, non-PPR.
Non-PPR. So non-PPR, I'm going Montgomery probably is for sure for me, and probably Gaskin just based on opportunity and the amount of work he gets. So
yeah, that's
Fournette, we saw his value buoyed last week by like 6 catches. So and even Bruce Arians said he was going to be their third down and passing work running back, and so that doesn't help you in non-PPR.
Yeah, I'm going Gaskin and Montgomery, especially in standard league. So
yeah, Montgomery though definitely been a little disappointing there, but that whole offense has been surprising. They only have, I think, 2 losses as a team.
Yep,
defense holding it up.
Indeed. We got 15 minutes till kickoff. So let's try to wait. We got one more question, or maybe it could be I don't know. Gallman or Kelly half PPR?
I think I'm probably going Kelly.
Yeah, I want to say Kelly, but at the same time, I mean, Gallman's got a bad matchup, but he's also going to get all the work unless Dion Lewis gets involved because Freeman's out. So I don't know. That's a toss-up to me.
Yeah, definitely tough.
Kelly's been underwhelming.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look. Gallman, I mean, I think he scored last week, so there is touchdown upside there, and prime time. But I mean, you're hoping that he breaks through the wall that is the front line of Tampa Bay. I'm just going Kelly based on, the matchup, and it's tough. Yeah, it's really tough.
I guess I'll go Kelly too, just because, like you said, Tampa Bay's been a tough matchup, and
yeah,
I don't like either one. But if I had to go one, I guess I'd go Kelly.
Yeah, and Denver's not any better of a matchup, honestly. That's why I kind of paused. I said because of the matchup, but I don't know. It's a coin flip for sure. Dion Lewis, I believe, is playing, so he'll probably get the passing down work. And Gallman just, let me see here. It was last week. So he went 10 for 34 with a touchdown last week, 5 for 20. Okay, I'm going to switch. I'm going to say Gallman.
Gallman, right,
final answer.
Gallman too, so.
Gallman, final answer.
Because I said Gallman in the first place, and then you talked me into Kelly, but I'm going Gallman as well. We got one question from Milo. It says Jimmy G or Baker Mayfield. I think Jimmy G just because of the matchup and how bad Seattle's been against the pass.
Yeah, Jimmy G. I think he ends up top 10 numbers this week.
Baker, I mean, he could have a great day too, but with all the weather situation and all that, and no Odell, we'll just have to see how that goes. I think he actually plays better without Odell. I mean, the numbers have kind of backed up that I think he tries to force a lot of targets, especially last year to OBJ. So I don't know. He looked pretty good even without OBJ last week. So
yeah, but against Seattle, I think you got to go Jimmy G, like you said.
Yep. Hit me with a few buy sell before everyone's trade deadline, and also the NFL trade deadline's coming up. So
yeah, so that's true. I think the NFL deadline is end of this week or middle of this week. Is it November 6th? Am I wrong about that?
No, I think it's the first week, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. So we'll do ones first because this is what I've seen all over the place is buying or selling. Michael Thomas, what are you thinking there?
Again, it depends on your position. Like all of these, if you're needing wins now, get rid of him. You should have probably already gotten rid of him, just based on the name value, because now he's kind of been losing stock. So, if you're, first place, you got a 2 or 3 game lead, probably hold on to him. I mean, trading him at his lowest isn't going to really do you much if you're in the top of the league. But if you need wins now, get rid of him.
Yeah, and honestly, I think as soon as we thought he was going to play this week because he was a full participant in practice, and then he didn't play. So who knows? There's been talks of him getting traded. I don't think he'll get traded from the Saints just because what other receivers do they have right now? But I think, like you said, with these injured guys, I'll loop in Eckler with that as well. I'll loop in Miles Sanders with that as well. Sanders has a bye next week, so he basically it's like he's injured for 2 weeks. He's been injured the past couple weeks. If you need wins now and people will actually buy into that, I've seen Eckler going for people like, Justin Jefferson or Scotty Miller or, just a viable flex play, then, probably worth it. Because if you get to week 13, Eckler's starting or Michael Thomas won't play till, maybe he plays next week, maybe it's the following week, but they're not going to help you any. Yes, maybe you lose the trade in the long run, but it's going to be a win in the long run if you get in playoffs versus if you don't. Because we've got some bye weeks here coming up. A big one was this week, but and an injured guy like Eckler is not going to help you fill your flex if you need somebody to fill in. So that could be the difference between, we saw earlier somebody was picking between like DJ Dallas and Kendrick Bourne.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that sounds like a team that has somebody like Sanders or Eckler or Michael Thomas on it. And so would you rather have someone with a safe floor or hope a guy that could go for 0 or 10, It's like win now versus hope you pull off wins and make playoffs. I think I'm going for the win now mode there. So if I'm, looking on track, 5-2, 4-3 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling if I'm, 3 wins, 2 wins, something like that. Another guy here that I want to talk about with the Chris Godwin news, especially buy, sell Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, and I mean, with this, like we talked about, with tight end being as bad as it is, he's been getting more involved in the red zone, and you might as well if you need a tight end, I would buy him definitely. I don't really see any reason you would sell off the production he's had. It's not like he went crazy, but
yeah, that's pretty solid the past 2 weeks for sure. But before that, he looks slow as hell. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah, if I needed a tight end, I'd buy.
But what would you give up? I mean, what do you think his value is? I mean, is it
I mean, it's all dependent on roster construction too, but running back 3, maybe running back and wide receiver, low end wide receiver, probably not. I don't want to give like a wide receiver 2 or running back 2 for him really, but I mean, there's not a lot of owners out there that are going to ask a lot for a tight end like that.
Yeah, we'll see what he does It's very possible that he could have 5 points this week, and then we're not talking about him next week,
Yeah.
Because Cameron Brate's still there. I know he hasn't done anything, but I think he's caught 1 or 2 touchdowns this year. And a couple of Gronk's touchdowns have honestly been pretty tough catches. So he doesn't come down with one of those. He only has 1 good week on the year, So we'll see the opportunities there. When Antonio Brown gets there next week, I think they're just going to be funneling targets to him because Brady, I think, he's got a ton of incentives in his contract based on receptions, yards, and touchdowns. And I don't think Brady, told him just to come to play second fiddle to someone else, especially with Godwin out right now. So if you can sell Gronk right now, honestly, it would be a seller. Because honestly, he's probably not your first tight end. Like most people picked him up like a couple weeks ago. And so if you don't need him, I would sell and just like try to get a flex piece or, even if it's like, well, if it was before this week, I would have said someone like Gio Bernard or Jamal Williams or something like that, someone who could win you a week versus Gronk, who, if you have someone like Kittle, are you ever going to start Gronk over him? No, you're not. So, and I don't ever feel confident starting a tight end in my flex spot. I don't know about you, but
I don't love it.
Not great, Bob.
It's unorthodox for sure, but yeah, some people don't care to do it.
Right.
I'm not a fan. We got almost 5 till, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of close it out here just because I got to get I haven't set all my lineups. Got a lot of moving pieces. I don't know if Matt said all his yet, but got a lot of stuff to look through here. But any last minute questions we can go ahead and hit. We'll put them up on screen. But if not, we'll see you guys same time next week. Hopefully, looks like it might be a low scoring day today with all these weather issues. So
yeah, or a DB slips and we'll get 90-yard touchdowns. We'll see.
Yeah, it's always crazy to see like the statistics behind the weather stuff, because I've read some places like the rain actually helps the passing game, the snow hinders it. Like, I don't know. I've read a few things about it, but people seem kind of divided on what affects what offense. And then, I think the wind obviously factors into passing and kicking the most, more than anything. So,
Yeah.
but
Agreed.
all right, guys. We will see y'all next week. Again, keep a lookout for our sit start article every week on Reddit. Post at 8 a.m. on Thursday mornings. All our other great articles from all our wonderful writers at QB List. Again, you can find me on Twitter, RAY_DUR. And then, Matt, you want to give yours?
At Matt Dean QB List. Easy.
So give us a follow on there. Give us a follow on our main Twitter at the QB List. And until next week, we'll see you guys.
Peace.